Last stretch of the year. What do we got to look forward to? So hello folks, welcome to Council of Geeks. We haven't done a roundtable in a while, but I have Ryan joining me, who is not the one I would have expected between the two regular guests.
What could I possibly have to occupy my time besides this?
Well, I actually had somebody ask, like in a comment on another video a few weeks back, like, where are the other guys at the council? I'm like, with their respective newborns.
Right.
And
we do want to wish Paul Scavito happy birthday as we record this. It is his...
What?
Should we be with him right now instead of recording this?
Oh, crap. Did I get... heck with him.
Happy birthday, Paul.
But yes, so we're gonna do what we haven't done in a while, which is have a round table, and we are gonna look at the geeky-ish movies coming out in the last 3 months of the year, October, November, December. On October the 6th, Blade Runner 2049.
Wow, that is much earlier than I thought. I did not think that was this year. Okay.
No, it's coming. It's coming up. Before we get into the movie specifically, I find myself wondering if, in the wake of them waiting until basically 3 weeks before it opened to really kick the Wonder Woman campaign into high gear, if studios are, and I'm pretty sure this is a Warner Brothers film, are starting to reassess whether it is necessary to do like a months-long ramp-up to a film or not.
It's certainly possible. I mean, they might be rethinking how they do their promotion, putting more money closer to the release.
Which honestly I would be all in favor of, because I get over my being pumped for something 6 months before the thing comes out at this point. Like even the ones I'm looking forward to that we're going to talk about, of which this is one, I saw the first teaser for this probably about 6 months ago.
I know very little about this movie other than the cast. I remember seeing the first teaser. I don't remember seeing anything since then. I never thought it needed a sequel. Like when they were saying we're going to do another one, I was like, oh, okay. Now, what I have seen based on the director, Denis Villeneuve.
He's French, so it's Denis Villeneuve.
Okay, forget what I was going to say. I was going to say I trust the vision that it looks. I think this could be a very good movie. I am looking forward to seeing it when it comes to HBO or some sort of streaming platform, or when it's on video.
It's pretty much the director's involvement that made me from skeptical to hopeful.
Okay.
Because I hadn't seen anything he's done. Like I still haven't seen Prisoners, and I haven't seen Sicario, and all these things I've been meaning to get around to. But I saw Arrival.
Okay.
And loved it.
All right.
And then I'm like, oh, this is the guy doing the next Blade Runner? Okay. So like he addressed that it is not his intention to directly answer the overhanging question of whether or not the Harrison Ford character is a replicant, which means he understands that the ambiguity of that is an important element to the first film. So I'm like, good. That shows me you understand the value and the strengths of this original film. Whether or not he can recreate it, I don't know. We'll see. But it's his involvement specifically. Because on premise, I was kind of like, but once I saw Arrival, I was like, okay.
Then based on that, I'm assuming tomorrow we'll find out that he's been hired to direct Star Wars Episode 9.
Which I would be absolutely down for.
This movie might be very, very good. I won't see it in the theater, but I hope it's very good. I look forward to seeing it eventually down the road. I really had no idea it was coming out in this soon from when we're recording this. Completely snuck up on me.
Yep. Rest of October's a bit of a mixed bag. I'm sure the next two I'm going to say I would be surprised if you've even heard of, but I have reasons I want to talk about them anyway. Okay. So on October the 13th, there are two movies coming out that I want to bring up. The first is Happy Death Day.
Is that a Friday the 13th release in the month of October?
Yes, it is.
And Happy Death Day, you say?
Happy Death Day.
Romantic comedy, Emma Stone and, let's say, Jake Gyllenhaal?
Oh, how did you know? So, it is Groundhog Day as a horror movie. And there's the eyes. Okay, so this girl, she wakes up, it's her birthday, she goes to a party, she is murdered at the party. And after she is murdered, she wakes up, and it is that same morning, but she has full memory of what happened. And she tries to avoid what happened, and she still gets murdered. And she keeps getting killed no matter what she does. Like, she gets in a car and drives as far away from where she knows she got killed as possible, and she still gets killed by this same masked person. And then wakes up that same day, and it keeps repeating. It resets every time she gets killed. And she has to figure out...
This is Emma Stone getting killed by Jake Gyllenhaal every time?
Yes, it is. No, it's a bunch of unknown actors.
Okay.
I mean, it's one of those things that is sold completely on the premise.
Have you seen a trailer? Have you seen anything?
I have seen a trailer. I found the trailer quite intriguing. There was something really interesting about her reactions, because much like...
So how is this different, basically, from like a Final Destination where you just have the same character being killed over and over again? Like, what's
going to come down to it, and whether or not it works, will depend on the actress, who unfortunately I don't know from anything. Sure. But if she can make it work, the bits I saw of her in the trailer is like her reactions as she's realizing what's going on feel very real and very human. Like I said, her first thing isn't like, ooh, I have to solve the mystery of my own killing. It's, oh, I have another chance. I'm driving as far as friggin' possible from here. Which, that's what any rational human being would do. And yet somehow this killer still finds her, which to me also ups the intrigue. Like, okay, something really crazy is going beyond just the beyond just the loop. There's something really weird going on with this killing. Now, it's the sort of setup that could very easily have a very disappointing, anticlimactic, or nonsensical answer to what's going on. But the trailer had me intrigued.
Okay, I hope it's good.
So the other one I'll mention coming out that same weekend is basically Jackie Chan doing Taken. So it's called The Foreigner.
Okay.
It's set in England. Jackie Chan's daughter is killed in an explosion in a terrorist bombing.
Okay.
And he then targets Pierce Brosnan, who is a government official, who Jackie Chan believes knows who the people who planted the bomb are.
Okay.
Pierce Brosnan won't give that information to him. Now, the trailer makes it look like maybe he's in it, or maybe he's just doing his job as a government person and not giving names to someone who obviously wants to do vigilante justice. Right. But he then starts terrorizing and planting bombs around Pierce Brosnan and his people, trying to get him to give up the names. Okay. And of course, Jackie Chan has his character has a whole, special ops training background and all that stuff. But this is dead. There is no hint of the jovial, chuckling, comedic side of Jackie Chan. It's gone. It
sounds interesting. I hope it's good. I hope it finds an audience. Certainly any movie with a non-Caucasian, I hope it finds an audience, because it seems like there aren't as many of those. But is it my movie? No.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also hoping that Jackie Chan is really able to sell it, because, I mean, the man still does, and there are clearly action scenes, they show up in the trailer, but at the same time, he's getting to that age where he can't, that can't be what he is, the only thing he's there to do. So I'm hoping that it works in terms of giving him more acting cred.
I've seen precious few of his movies, by which maybe two. And there was always the kung fu laced with a bit of comedy and like physical humor. I mean, if he's doing something other than that,
and that was his thing, and he was great at that, but he can't do that forever.
Right. True.
The next weekend, are you familiar with the sordid history of Geostorm?
No.
Okay. Now, this is the directorial debut of Dean Devlin, best known as a producer and working during Roland Emmerich's heyday. He produced Independence Day and Stargate and that god-awful Godzilla. Now, it was shot 4 years ago, was apparently horrible, but was so friggin' expensive, the studio, I forget which studio it was not prepared to write it off and instead ordered a ton of very expensive reshoots to try and salvage this thing. The premise is that it's the near future and there is a satellite that controls the weather. But somebody takes it over and starts using natural disasters to...
They weaponize the weather?
They weaponize the weather.
That was my favorite G.I. Joe episode.
And I think they actually weaponized the weather to try and kill the president. I'm not 100% on that one.
I guess I would like to know more about why the first cut they thought was so horrific. Was it script, directing, just all of the above?
I don't know. I mean, the entire...
If it's a first-time director, if it's a prodigy of Roland Emmerich.
The entire premise is just so dated. It's not like, oh, well, that's a good idea. Maybe he's just weak as a director. It's like, no, this whole idea sounds awful. Like, everything about this sounds terrible. What?
They should have just signed a deal with Hasbro and made it a G.I. Joe movie.
Yeah.
It's that.
But they didn't. Okay. And thus it's coming to theaters. Also coming out that same weekend, the latest attempt to give a go at reviving the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. We get Leatherface.
I don't care about this.
I know. Here's one thing. There's one thing about the premise that I'm like, okay, that could make for an interesting, student short take on the idea. I don't think we need a movie out of it. But apparently, at least part of the movie deals with, 3 escaped violent juveniles.
Okay. And
one of them is going to eventually become Leatherface, but it doesn't make clear which one of them it is. I mean,
that might be kind of interesting, because I never really cared for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's considered a masterpiece of horror. I saw it, I didn't like it, but whatever. If they actually manage to hide which character becomes Leatherface, well then some horrible things have to happen to these 3 people to prime them, and it's just whoever's left standing. I still don't care.
I don't care either, but I would say props to them for throwing at least
a twist.
Throwing
that could be a legit twist,
an interesting idea when they didn't have to.
True, they did not.
So now you might have found yourself thinking, isn't there a release date that's closer to Halloween than that? Well, there is, but it has been staked out by Jigsaw, which is the attempt to revive the Saw franchise.
Starring Emma Stone and Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yes, absolutely. You are nailing this. I actually have only ever seen the first Saw movie.
That's one more than I've seen.
I thought it was fine for what it was, which is basically a bottle story.
Mm-hmm.
I know the gist of what goes on after that in the franchise because I found it mildly interesting, but I never watched any of them.
The premise, the torture porn thing, I don't care. So.
It's the one thing I always found interesting, and it's the reason I would look up the Wikipedia entries, is the killer, the Jigsaw killer, dies in the 3rd film.
Okay.
And they made 7 of them. And I found it interesting the hoops that the series kept jumping through to explain the continuing impact of this dead guy, because he doesn't come back.
Okay.
He dies in the 3rd film and stays dead.
But his legacy,
he had stuff set up to happen after his death. He had an apprentice. He had this. He had that. All right. Well, coming out that same weekend, I believe in a slightly more limited release, Professor Marston and the Wonder Women.
Oh, okay.
So this is the story of William Moulton Marston, the man who created Wonder Woman, and the 2 women who influenced the creation of that character, being his wife and their mutual girlfriend.
Polyamorous, relationship. And he's being played by...
Oh, that is a good question.
Somebody who you would not think to play this type of part. I think it's not like Luke Evans, but it's somebody similar to that.
See, that is exactly the name that was coming to my mind, but I'm not sure if that is who it is. It is... No, it is Luke Evans.
It is Luke Evans.
It is Luke Evans. I'm interested in this one, and actually, additionally, and I hadn't even realized this, it is written and directed by a woman.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think, obviously, this thing was in the works and was pretty much shot and was in post-production when Wonder Woman came out. Boy, did they get lucky that movie hit as big as it did. I think there is a much bigger interest in this story than there would have been otherwise. And that takes care of October. We get into November, and one of the 2 movies I know you're actually going to go see, Thor Ragnarok.
I am excited for this one.
I am too. It is one that I keep forgetting is coming up, but that's less because my excitement has died down, but more because I have cut myself off from the marketing.
That's cool.
I think I only saw the first full trailer, and then I'm like, awesome, I'm sold, and I've stopped since then.
I think there was only one big, the Comic-Con trailer since then, and then there have been like international cuts that have slightly other footage.
None of which I've watched.
Not much. It's mostly the Comic-Con trailer, which was outstanding. As good as the original teaser was, the Comic-Con was slightly different energy, different music, but also really, really good. Taika Waititi, the director, has just a really cool, ballsy direction that they just let him go for it. What I'm hoping is, I mean, I'm pretty sure Avengers Infinity War or Avengers 4 will be the swan song, at least for this version of Captain America and Iron Man. Yeah. I think Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. are done, or they're going to be way too expensive.
I think it would be in their interest to have at least one of the original folks stick around for whatever the new iteration of Avengers is, and Chris Hemsworth would be really good for that.
Yeah. Beyond that, like, the movie just looks really exciting. I'm really interested in the way they depict the Hulk in this one. I'm excited to see Valkyrie, Tessa Thompson's character. I really liked her in Creed, so I'm excited for this one. I also, Taika Waititi said it's going to be the shortest Marvel movie based on the cut they have right now, like in terms of runtime. So I think it's just going to be a brisk, just
I'm down for a breezy good time.
Yeah, exactly. So
not too long after, 2 weeks after that, Justice League.
As recently as a week ago, I'm hearing conflicting reports about whose movie this is.
Well,
some people are saying like 50%, as much as 50% of the final cut will be new stuff that Joss Whedon has written or directed, and some people are saying, not really, he's just doing some pickups and stuff. It's still definitely the vision of Zack Snyder. They're like, you can't get this message straight at this point, this late in the game?
Here's my understanding. And basically they're both kind of right. Joss Whedon has done major work on it, and there have been major reshoots, to the point that I believe Joss Whedon is actually getting a writing credit. That having been said, he himself and most other people are still saying this is still intended to be Snyder's vision. So my belief is that he has done major rework on it, but still aiming to deliver a movie that is in the spirit and with the intent of what Snyder was trying to do. Not slavish to the point that he's like, well, this was Snyder's script, and even though it's bad, I'm going to use it. Obviously not that. But I think he is still most likely going to deliver a movie that is not what the Joss Whedon Justice League would be. Here's the comparison film that I can make, and it's the only one I can think of that feels like a valid comparison for the situation, and that's AI. Because it was very much Stanley Kubrick's vision, and Steven Spielberg, a very different director, trying to deliver what another director would have done, and the result being really weird. I'm going to put the same asterisk on this that I put on Wonder Woman, which is that if the reviews are positive, and I mean solidly positive, I will probably actually go and see it in the theater, despite having gone on record previously saying I wasn't going to do that. Because if things look like they have turned around and become what I said I wanted them to be, I'm not going to be picking and go, well, I said back in March that I wasn't going to go watch it, so me. It's like, I'm not that petty. I will see it if they actually fixed it.
I am. That's what I said. That's why I'm holding my arms like this that you just mocked.
There you go.
However, I will say that, in keeping with this, like, if they sort of course correct and they're turning this around, and between Wonder Woman and Justice League they have some momentum driving, they still have 13 months before their next movie.
Yes. Yes, they do.
Because Aquaman don't come out until Christmas of the next year.
On the 8th of December, there is Guillermo del Toro's new movie, The Shape of Water.
I don't know anything about it.
Okay. Well, there's a trailer that's out. So it's almost like an Abe Sapien solo movie.
Okay.
It's not literally that, because he's not working in the Hellboy universe, but it deals, I believe it's a period piece. I think it's the 50s.
Okay.
It's definitely not modern times, but it deals with this woman who is mute, who gets a job just cleaning, like being a janitor, a maid in this government facility, and one of the things that's in there is this fish man. That they are observing and studying, and some of them are arguing they should be cutting open and examining. And she builds a relationship with this thing through nonverbal communication because it doesn't speak, she's mute, and they find other ways to bond.
This could be really interesting. And this, I'm sure mine is the minority opinion. I didn't like Pacific Rim, or I was kind of bored by it. It just wasn't my thing. I didn't really like either of the Hellboy movies, and I didn't like Blade 2, and I never saw Pan's Labyrinth. So for me, Guillermo del Toro is not a draw in any way.
All right, get out. I like Guillermo del Toro a lot. I do think he gets overrated in some circles.
Okay.
Pacific Rim I found to be fun, but some people really lost their minds over it, and I wasn't entirely sure why. But to my interests and my sensibilities, he's never made an uninteresting movie, and he's never made a movie that I wished I hadn't bothered to see. I mean, probably his weakest movies, again, to my opinion, were Kronos, which is his first movie, which is still visually beautiful and really interesting, and Mimic, which was his first Hollywood film, which is kind of dumb, but done very stylishly and still worth seeing once.
Okay.
If for no other reason than you can see Josh Brolin get gutted by a giant cockroach.
That's not going to be in Avengers 4. That's,
Well, I mean,
I'm pretty sure.
We'll see. Maybe it'll get homaged. We never know. Also coming out that same weekend, I believe in limited release, but I want to bring it up anyway. The Disaster Artist.
Tell me.
How familiar are you with The Room?
Is this the guy's name?
Tommy Wiseau.
Tommy Wiseau. I know the legend of this, yeah.
Okay. The Disaster Artist was originally a book written by the co-star of The Room about the experience of making The Room. The movie The Disaster Artist is directed by and starring in the role of Tommy Wiseau.
Tommy Wiseau?
James Franco.
Okay. I like James Franco. Okay. This could be interesting.
I think this could be amazing. It could also be insufferable if it just gets too happy with itself for existing. But
what do you think of the odds of Tommy Wiseau directing Star Wars Episode 9?
Well, we get to the big release of December, which is, of course, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi.
Directed by Ryan Johnson, who most likely will direct Episode 9.
Which I mean, obviously I haven't seen Last Jedi yet, but I have a heck of a lot more faith in Ryan Johnson than I did in Colin Trevorrow. I will say that right now.
Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy in particular seem to love him.
So yeah, I am excited. And this is another one that, like Thor, after the first full trailer came out, I went, awesome, I'm there, and I cut myself off from the marketing.
They haven't released another one yet.
I know that they've released snippets and like when I say the marketing, I don't just mean the trailers. I mean I don't read stories about Star Wars.
For basically since that one came out, because I've had a lot of other things on my plate, I was pretty cold up to this point. Like there was an Empire magazine had a big thing on them with like 4 different. Was it Empire? It was Vanity Fair, I think. And I got that. It had a very detailed article, but it wasn't really about the plot. It was more about like the cast, and a lot of it was Carrie Fisher centric. So I read that, but other than that, like there are tons of stuff about this that I haven't seen, but I know once the trailer drops, which will probably be in early October, and certainly before Thor comes out, which is November. So within a month or so, it'll be out. Then it will be hard for me to stay blocked. Box office predictions, do you think more or less than The Force Awakens?
I don't think it's going to open as big. But I think it'll make about the same amount of money by the time it's done.
I think you're right. It probably won't open as big. It wouldn't surprise me if it makes more.
All right.
So,
and we will see what happens. I mean, I think the last time I read anything about Star Wars was when Ryan Johnson explained why he moved the scar on Kylo Ren's face because where it had been placed, where he had gotten slashed in The Force Awakens when they tried to put a scar there, it looked dumb. Yeah,
because it was like going right across the bridge of his nose and everything from one side to the other, and they're like, it's hard to replicate without him looking goofy, so they just put it over the eye.
Yeah, that was the last thing I read. So yeah, obviously that is the big one for December. But there is one other coming out later that month that I think is worth mentioning, and it's a movie called Downsizing.
Okay.
And it stars Matt Damon, and it is set in a not-so-distant future where, in an attempt to combat the rate at which human beings are using up the world's natural resources, technology has been created that will shrink humans down to about 5 inches. And that is the solution, because if we're smaller, we will consume fewer resources. That's all I know so far, because I don't think there's been a full trailer at the time of recording. There's just been a teaser. And so exactly what happens beyond that premise, I don't know much. But your face right now. I'm watching the wheels turn.
So many things are just like gridlock, like just jamming together. Does the science of that actually make sense?
I have no idea.
Who cares? Are they poaching ideas from Ant-Man and the Wasp 7 months before that movie comes out?
Possibly.
Sons of bitches.
Well, it's being directed by the guy who directed Sideways and The Descendants. So this man's never made a sci-fi movie before. And I can't imagine it's going to be a particularly sci-fi-y feeling movie.
What would it be like to have a 5-inch tall Matt Damon following you around? I got an Oscar for screenwriting Good Will Hunting. That's what he sounds like in my head at 5 inches. Okay.
So, I guess we'll wrap up on that note. Oh, boy. So, Ryan, what do you have to plug? I know fatherhood, whatever. Yeah. You're still putting podcasts out.
These were all recorded years ago.
You're like the Jigsaw Killer. You had planned for your demise long in advance.
Absolutely. The next episode is going to be about a 5-inch tall Emma Stone who keeps getting killed every day and recycle rebirth
by Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yes. Yeah, you can find me on the Fire and Water Podcast Network. Several shows on that, of which the names escape me for the moment. But I am a part of
Nightcast. It's midnight, the podcasting hour. Give me those Star Wars. Why am I doing your plugs for you?
I'm tired. Also, I write several webcomics on risingsuncomics.com, Red and Green, and My Pet Ninja.
All right, you look exhausted. I'm gonna let you go. So, and if you are watching this in video, you can see, or not see, listen to the uncut version as a podcast on the Council of Geeks podcast feed that's available on iTunes and Stitcher. So thanks so much for tuning in, folks. Thank you, Ryan, for making the time.
I got nothing else going on.
Yeah, I know you don't. So until next time, folks, this council is adjourned.